Focus, a college football podcast. We have a Seminole and a Gator together, trying to put aside their differences and bring you the fantastic world of college football. Thank you for joining us on this ride of hype, hope, and hilarity. My name's Brandon. I'm joined by Chris. Today we'll do a quick reminder about our Patreon account. We'll recap the Florida State-Florida games and whip around the state. And we'll give you a preview of the upcoming week as we have some rivalry matchups. So how are you feeling about today's show, my friend?
I'm pretty good. I always love talking about a win and looking forward to a huge matchup this week.
Yes. I would say that the Gators are hitting the meat of their schedule, but I guess that already kind of happened. And so congrats on 2 consecutive SEC road wins.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? I did not. That's something that it's tough to do. It's really tough to do, and I didn't think we were going to do, so I'm excited. Really excited that we came out with victories.
Absolutely. Yeah, Florida State, we'll talk about this in depth, but certainly didn't play better than Louisville, but somehow managed to get the W. So
yeah, I got a lot of questions to ask you when we get to them.
Yeah, it's I think I have probably more than you do. So we'll.
Okay.
I just don't have this coaching staff in front of me to get those answers, but
yeah, I don't know if anyone has the answers.
Right.
Honestly.
Awesome. Okay. Well, patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast. We have 2 tiers. We would appreciate your support. $1 a month gives you private access to our Facebook VIP page, our eternal thanks. $5 a month gets you secret episodes. And Chris, we launched a new feature for the $5 a monthers. We're now going to give you an inside look into the show, and you're going to get the pre-show and post-show audio. So you kind of get our, hi, how you doing? Let's catch up. Here's the format. And then after the show, a lot of stuff we didn't get a chance to kind of get into. So pretty good feature, right?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It makes me kind of think about what I'm saying more and more. But it's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's interesting stuff.
Absolutely. It's a good way for us to improve the show. That's the only reason we do this, and so we thank you in advance. Plus, also, with $5 a month, you get our instant reactions to the game, which are a little shorter, but you get kind of the raw, unedited emotion, right? So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let you start, Chris. You have a lot to share about Florida at Mississippi State. So how did you feel about the win down in Starkville?
I'm going to tell you what, I am excited that we got a road West victory. And I haven't said that many times before. Historically, we don't do well in those games. And then you add the fact that it's Mullen's old team, the Mullen Bowl, if you will, and electric atmosphere, the cowbells going, all the stuff that lined up for us to lose. And I thought we were going to play okay, especially coming off the Tennessee game. And I knew that they were a little bit overrated, especially if you watch them playing against Kentucky. So I thought we were going to be decent. I thought we were going to not embarrass ourselves, maybe play a tight game, maybe keep it close to the end. And I didn't think the game was going to get away from us. But I didn't think we were going to win, though. I honestly didn't think we were going to win. And if you had told me that we were going to lose the turnover battle, that Franks was going to throw 0 touchdowns, and that we were going to only score 13 points, and we were going to win, I would have thought you were crazy.
Sure.
But we did. And
did all that.
It was an ugly win, but man, I will take it. I will take it and run with it. And last game, our defense and the big plays of the story of the game before that, it was the special teams. This game was definitely our defense. We went on the road and held a ranked team to 6 points, which is insane. Yeah. To not scoring a touchdown, to shutting them out in the second half. And I think that was just insane. Like the first few drives, they ran the ball at will. No big plays, but they kept moving the chains on us. But I thought it was important for us when we held them just to field goals. And we weren't doing much offensively, but we were bending, but we definitely weren't breaking. And our defense was holding on just enough until our offense scored enough points in the second half. And when we went into halftime down only 3, I was like, okay, this is This is where we want to be. If you're gonna beat this team, this is where you want to be. And our defense did a great job of shutting them out and shutting them down in the second half. And one thing I noticed with our defense is we used a bunch of safety blitzes and well-timed corner blitzes, especially at the very end there on fourth down. We sent both safeties, and one of them getting in and sacking the quarterback in the last play of the game, essentially.
Right.
And we didn't get too much of a push up front, but our end rushers had tons of pressure all game, multiple sacks, and then we had well-timed safety and corner blitzes that I think really frustrated Fitzgerald. We held him to 98 yards passing, which blows my mind that we did. I didn't realize that till after the game, but I don't know if they were playing conservative or our defense was that good, but Fitzgerald seemed a little off. They didn't really let him loose too many times, and we really contained him. Other than the first handful of drives, we figured him out, and we just shut him down. And it's something that I was really impressed with our defense to do that. And you're seeing Grantham really get these guys playing in a secondary that is using a bunch of freshmen, players that have been moving around from nickel to your nickel corner to corner to safety, moving around all around, and they're doing a pretty good job. And I tell you what, our defensive ends with Ja'Kai Polite and Zuniga are doing a fantastic job. And CeCe Jefferson's coming off the bench, and he's the one spelling them, And if he can do that talent's coming off the bench. It's a long night for your quarterback, and I'm really liking the aggressive play calling from the defense, and it's putting a lot on our corners, but our corners are stepping up. They send the linebackers, they send the safeties, and it's in corners you have to hold your man, and they're putting a lot of trust in them, and so far we're stepping up in that part of the field. Offensively, it's weird because we only scored 13 points, and our one touchdown was a trick play. But if you watch the game, and I didn't realize this till afterwards, we didn't have 1 3-and-out, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
We threw for over 200. We didn't have a crazy running back go off, but we had all of our running backs do decent, and all of our receivers do decent. And everyone, even our tight ends, got in on the action. And it was weird because Frank seemed a little bit more poised. He didn't do too much to necessarily win the game, and our offense, it wasn't crazy. But if you watch the game, we kept moving the ball, and we kept moving the chains, and we got the time of possession,
right,
and kept it away from them. And a really nice compliment to our defense and the way their defense was playing. I really like how our running game, Scarlett did a pretty good job. P. Ryan did a fantastic job, even catching passes too. And the fourth quarter, the last couple of drives, we had our freshman Damian Pierce running the ball, and he's been our closer the last few games. You don't really see him much leading up to the fourth quarter, but he comes into the fourth quarter, and you have fresh legs, and that's going to play big down later on in the year.
Sure.
He almost knocked the ball out of Frank's hand. He ran out of bounds when we'd like for him to stay in bounds, but he had a couple of really good runs and kept the clock going. And we didn't really score like we wanted to at the end and put them away, but we got first downs, which really kept the ball away from them and not allowing them to come back and win or tie the game. So it's a weird game. not how, I guess, Gator. Let me say this: like, I'm excited for the win. I really am, but I know how Gator fans think, and you can't win every game like this or play every game like this. You're not going to make the fan base happy. We love this win. We absolutely take it. If we win versus LSU this week, 13-6, we'll be ecstatic. But big picture, if Dan Mullen comes in, this offensive guy, and we're doing games like this all the time, you're not going to – the fan base is not going to be happy.
Okay.
But for right now, until he gets his guy, because Franks is not his guy. He's doing what he can with Franks. I think he's doing a great job with Franks. Until he gets his guy, we might see more games like this, which is fine for now, fine for this year. But big picture, I'm a little worried that all these games are going to be like this, and I could be wrong, and that's not the goal, because you see the week before with Tennessee, we dropped 40 something on them. So I guess like every week's going to be different, different team, which is going to be interesting to see for sure. Another positive, our special teams didn't do anything fantastic, but they hit the field goals they needed to, and they pinned them deep on the punts a lot, which was real key for field position. So those are the positives. Among other things, those are the things that really stuck out to me before we get into the opportunities.
Okay.
Well, one last thing on that, actually. There was a turning point in the game. It was in the third quarter where we threw a pick, and it deflected off the receiver, and they got it. And their next play, they threw a bomb, and their receiver got behind our safety and just dropped the ball. Like, he was a step behind him, just dropped it. If he had caught it, the safety maybe tackles him at the 5, at the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be a touchdown, though. And we dodged the bullet on that. He just flat out dropped it. Took his eyes off it, was ready to score. And we forced him to punt, and then I think it was the next drive, we scored our touchdown. So we that was like the turning point of the game, and I like how we capitalized right after that. We almost gave up a big play, almost gave up a touchdown, would have gone down, I think, by 10 at that point. Instead, we seized the opportunity, and we went up and scored the next drive. So I do like how they responded to that.
Yep, very good. I think a couple of positives that I saw from what you could take away from the Gator perspective was you mentioned time of possession. So you had the ball almost 34 minutes to their 26. 20 first downs, so you were continually moving the ball. And to see how well they spread out the rushing attack. P. Ryan had 55 yards on 10 attempts, and Pierce had 30 on 4 attempts. So nothing real flashy. Like the longest run of the day was 22 yards. But you're right. Managing field position and clock, and that's how you win low-scoring defensive efforts. And then Florida did that really well. Yeah.
And you're going to need to do that sometimes. Yep. And I think this next week might be the same exact type of game. But I'm glad that we can. I'm glad that we have that ability to do that. And I think that our offense complements our defense in certain times. And you saw that in this game. As far as things to work on, man, the offensive line this game, and not so much the protection, but the discipline, holding penalties. There was at least 4, probably more, false starts, especially early on in the game. And it was kind of like embarrassing at some points of how many penalties we had.
Couldn't have been as bad as us.
I had 9 penalties, I think, or something like that. But there was at points where there was like 3 penalties right in a row. And at the end of the game, we had, I want to say, a holding penalty on our offsides on defense, and then the next play we had a face mask. And so they started at 10. We gave them like 30 free yards.
Ooh.
Thankfully, we held them, but they're kind of trying to come in and tie the game. We're going to give them 30 free yards. It's just kind of we got to clean that up, and a lot of it is you're on the road, hostile environment, noise messes with you a little bit. So I get that, but especially on our offensive line, you can't just start off drives two false starts back to back.
Right.
And we had a long pass down to like the 2, a 50-yard pass to the 2. It's called back as a holding. And that was kind of like, ugh, it was a gut punch. But I will say this. If he doesn't hold the guy, he probably sacks the quarterback.
Okay.
So I see, but then that's your fault for letting him almost sack the quarterback. So our offensive line really needs to – the whole team in general needs to work on the penalties, but the offensive line specifically in this game was just kind of, come on, guys. Come on. So that's the major thing that you could take away from this game that we need to work on.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think it's you mentioned the SEC road game, so nice to kind of pad with the stats there with the W.
Yeah.
You mentioned the penalties. Yeah, I gave Mississippi State 2 first downs on penalties, and I think I saw that Florida had 11, so that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
11
just
for 90 yards. That's what it was. 11
okay.
for 90.
Yeah, I mean, but stifled Mississippi State. So I mean, when they only got 200 yards of offense, you just can't win games like that, and they didn't. So
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm happy. I love it, and I did not think we were going to win. I was not shocked that we won. I shouldn't think we were going to because everything pointed to us losing.
Right.
But this is a great win for the program. Mississippi State's still a little bit overrated, but still a good team, a quality team, and going on the road and taking a victory is a good thing, especially if you want to build the program. It's another step in the right direction.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Any last thoughts on the Gators before we move on?
No, I'm just excited. I'm happy. And, when you watch replays of games, the Tennessee replay, it took some time to watch because a lot of plays. This was a pretty quick rewatch. Unless you're a defensive guy, then you love this game and there's ton to watch though.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'll take it.
I'm a defensive guy, so these are the kind of games I actually do like.
Right.
I think one coach, it might have even been Urban Meyer, said the most important player or the most important play in the game is the punt. I'm like, yeah, I can get on board with that. I like that. Certainly, you mentioned the punting. That's certainly key in a game like this. It really, really helps.
Yeah. I think there might have been, I could be wrong, but like 3 times where we pinned them inside the 20. And that's very important. Mm-hmm. Very important to do that. And like crazy punt returns or blocks on special teams, but if you punt them, you pin them down and you make your field goals, that's pretty good. It's a win in special teams. You know?
Absolutely. All right. So the Gators victorious on the road. Florida State wins at Louisville, so a nice first conference win of the year for the Noles. So I'll start with some positives from the game. This is loosely in time order, but from the beginning, Brooks makes really good game for him. Nice presence, some pressures, had some early plays that really kind of helped the effort. Our first defensive possession, he showed up really nicely. Nyquan Murray finally has a breakout game, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He got an open space and he made the Cardinals pay. So our first scoring drive looked fantastic. All of the key guys you would want to get touches for the ball, Cam Akers, Tamarian Terry, Nyquan Murray, all get involved. I've mentioned this a couple of times, and I'm going to continue to thank the Noles for this. We're returning kickoffs after touchdowns, and this is something that we want to continue to kind of push on, especially when you have a year where the offense is struggling like it is. On the other side, when we were actually kicking off to Louisville after our first touchdown, our kicker, Logan Tyler, got all the way down was involved in the tackle. There was even like a muff at the end where the player fumbled, and he was in there trying to get it. So
nice.
Good for him.
Yeah.
That's the kind of effort, again, not on the stat sheet, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you, Logan. Appreciate that. The offense checking alignment. I think you and I talked about this a while back. You were the first person to kind of explain it to me. You know how you'll line up, you'll put wide receivers out, and you'll have the wide receiver point to the referee.
Yeah.
Kind of check where he is. Am I on the line? Am I off the line? We finally started doing that because we had so many problems up to this point of illegal shifts or ineligible receiver downfield. All of the other silly things that you can change by checking this kind of stuff at the line. So to finally see that happening for the players, that's great. I think we really just had too many plays that like, 20-yard catch, and it's called back because of ineligible, he was covered up or something silly. Right. So good for us to take the initiative. Brian Burns continues to play fantastic. He had a fumble recovery that was forced by Jackson. So that actually came in a really opportune time. That was, I think, it was second quarter. So just to keep the pressure on the quarterback this whole year, good for us. I already talked enough about Nyquan Murray, but he had also, along with his 2 touchdowns, he had a really, really good third and long catch to kind of sustain a drive. I think it was late first half, early second half, somewhere around there. Francois was really taking what the defense was giving him. Even on a running play, he went up and threw a block for Cam Akers. So he's contributing. If you're an athlete, man, go do it. Why not?
Right.
You talked about in the Gator game where there was a point where you saw the momentum shift. I saw it for Florida State, and it was in the third quarter, late in the third quarter. We get into the backfield, and we're pressuring Juwan Pass, and we sack him and force a fumble. Louisville somehow comes up with a recovery. We get them to punt, and maybe a missed face mask on that. I'm not going to say it was there for sure because I couldn't exactly tell. But the next play, deep bomb into Tamarian Terry, touchdown. Didn't look too pretty up to that point, but you get that. You bring the game a lot closer. So we were down 21-7 at one point, then again 24-14, and we only allowed 3 points in the second half, and we were able to score really late. We finally converted some fourth downs. Now, when you have an offense that is reeling, you have to do a few things that are different. You have to try and set some guys in motion. You have to get the wide receivers blocking more. Maybe you take the tight end, and if he's running a route, he still pushes off his guy before he runs the route. So I like that we started doing that. What you also have to do as a team is you have to start going for it on fourth down more because you're going to have to take some chances, extend some drives. Mm-hmm. So we finally converted our first fourth down of the year. So now in the season we're 2 of 7.
Okay.
And we were actually early in the game. This is under the opportunity section, but we lined up in 4th and 4 like we were going to go for it, and then got a false start. So we ended up having to punt. So it was that's rough. I think I'm not exaggerating. I think we had 5 false starts, if not 6. So
we were right around there too. Yeah.
Rough day for that. We had Landon Dickerson was back in, and he was responsible for at least 2 of those. So be that as it will, it is what it is. So, and then the biggest play of the game obviously was Louisville is up by 3 at the Florida State 21-yard line and decide to pass.
Why?
I don't know why.
I understand that your quarterback's last name is Pass. But you don't need to pass.
There was no need. And I was doing the math. I was like, we had 2 timeouts. I think you could have taken 2 knees, 2 run, whatever, and just ran the clock out, and we would have had like 30 seconds left, maybe 40 at the best case scenario. Instead, he throws an interception to Westbrook, and 5 plays later we score a beautiful touchdown. The Nyquan Murray just weaved in and out of all the defense. Yeah. And that doesn't happen without other players getting involved, seeing the change in momentum, throwing a block. But Nyquan's vision on that play was what saved it. And it actually happened when he ran and got the game-winning touchdown, or what would prove to be the game winner. he actually, just by circumstance, happened to run right to the Florida State section there in Louisville, so he was able to go right over to the fans that traveled and celebrate.
Okay.
Kind of
nice.
Fun twist there. So, yeah, those are the positives. I feel like there's quite a few. Probably the most we've had of any game this year, honestly.
Okay.
Yep. Not without our opportunities, though. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just skip this section? But our offensive line has to get a push. Defensive line as well. There was one play, Louisville's second drive, which is where they scored a touchdown. We were in the backfield and just couldn't wrap up the guy. It should have been a negative play, and he ends up gaining 3 yards. I mean, plays like that really add up.
Yeah.
On their first touchdown, there was a poor linebacker read. I get it. When you play a Petrino offense, some things are going to be different and harder. We're lucky this game didn't get out of hand because there were a lot of overthrown balls, wide open receivers that didn't catch a pass. There was at one point in the third or fourth quarter, 3 straight plays. Throws a pass. Yeah, I know. I'm going to say it over and over. And the wide receiver doesn't catch it, and he's wide open in the end zone for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether it's worse for Florida State or Louisville, the fact that you had a guy wide open 3 plays in a row, or you had a guy who couldn't catch a pass 3 times in a row. I don't know.
Right.
Either way, it doesn't look good for either school.
Yeah.
Third down on offense is still pretty inept. On the season, we are 29%. And that's just what's killed us, really. They finally figured out their passing game, Louisville did. And Jalen Smith just couldn't be stopped. That guy just kept everything thrown his direction, and we couldn't defend him. Very little opportunities for the defense, but the biggest one I saw was the previous week when Louisville played Virginia. Louisville had 1st and goal at the 4-yard line, and they were stopped.
Right.
The same scenario happened here, and they scored very easily. So that was a little disheartening to know that Virginia's defense was a little better in that kind of specific first and goal scenario.
Right.
But not something to be too concerned about. Just don't let it be a pattern, I guess.
Yeah.
This one, however, is a little embarrassing. Louisville had not scored a touchdown in the first half the entire year. Against us, they scored 3 against us. So
wow, I didn't realize that.
It was really hard to swallow that one, but you knew eventually stuff like that's going to happen. You just don't want it to be against you.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. FSU really has a tough time starting games on the right foot.
Right. This
whole year. And you see it again here, 21-7 at half.
Right.
Just can't figure out how to start the game. You don't need to come back if you're doing it, earlier in the game.
Correct. Yes, and you were saying 21-7 at half. The biggest reason it was 21-7 is because they're driving down late second quarter, and it's third down in the red zone, and we get called for pass interference. So you're right there. You cost your team 4 points because they end up scoring a touchdown. They would have settled for a field goal. It would have been 17-7. It looks very different.
Right.
So things like that. We also had some bad luck. There was a punt that bounced off one of our defenders' heads.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they recovered. I don't know that there's anything you can really do about that.
The guy who's receiving the punt he can alert, but really he doesn't know where it's going to fall, and the guy's making an effort play. I'm surprised that more teams don't try to kick shorter ones into traffic.
Right, and just get a weird bounce somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Punts are... we're going to talk about punters again? Is this where we're going? Punts can really change a game. I mean, you out-punt your coverage. We'll talk about UCF a little bit later. That's how Pitt scored their first and what looked like would be their only touchdown against UCF. The punt was too good. He out-kicked his coverage. And then this one against Louisville, the flip side, it was a terrible punt. And, he outran... we outran whatever. It just happened. And, you can't fault anybody for that, really.
Yeah.
It's one of those freak things.
Right.
So, yeah, but overall, you take the W. Wasn't pretty. Didn't play as well as you'd like. Surprisingly, threw the ball a little bit more. but just the rushing attack this season continues to be subpar, and let's hope that we can continue to find new ways to get the balls in the hands of our players like Cam Akers, who just barely has over 300 yards on the year so far. Okay. And then keep in mind, one of those rushes against Virginia Tech was like 85. So I take that out. He's just over 200 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. That's it. Now, that can be offensive line. That could be injuries. It could be a little on him. I mean, we talked about the fumble problems. That's good. But we did run a play this game where it was a jet sweep, and we're using him more in the wide receiver spot or in the slot. So You run a jet sweep to him. The read on one of the other defenders wasn't very good, so it didn't go very far. Kind of went for a loss, actually. But at least you're imagining ways to kind of move the ball forward. And I really hope we don't give up on that. I always didn't like in years past, we would run on first down, lose yards, and we would pass second and third. I really like the run-pass formula, so I hope we don't give up on that.
All right. What? So you were saying that the third down percentage is low. Is that because it's a lot of third and long, or
Yes.
is it okay? So it's the first couple downs are what's hurting you.
Yeah, and surprisingly, this was a game where we actually had manageable third downs.
Okay.
3rd and 7, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. But just so hard to convert because we will have a good play and then we'll have a false start. We'll have a good run and then there's holding. And it's almost like a pattern. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Right. Now, so we mentioned this earlier, the interception at the end of the game.
Right.
So I don't know if you follow. I think ESPN has it to where like your win percentage per play, like
oh yeah,
you track it.
I'm familiar.
It was before that Louisville had 98% chance of winning. So my question to you: did Florida State win that game, or did Louisville lose that game?
Yes.
Now I know you look at the it says Florida State gets the W, Louisville gets the L, but is it more Florida State coming back and winning, or Louisville blowing the game? I think. I'll let you tell yours. I got my thoughts.
It's both. It's more of Louisville not managing it. I was actually going to talk about finishing games off, which I'll hold on for a second.
Okay.
And you got to take advantage of mistakes. That's how you win games. I mean, what if we pick that off and then we don't convert the next 4th down? We still lose the game anyway. And the problems that we have are still there. They don't go away. But largely, it was poor game management down the stretch for Louisville. But we still held them to 3 points in the second half,
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I think Louisville just blew it. Yep. You don't need to throw that ball.
Nope.
At all.
Yeah, and it's clear that Florida State didn't play as well. Louisville had all the performance upgrades that we wish we could have had.
Oh, I totally agree that Florida State capitalized on it, and that play at the end, he is a very athletic play. Louisville, but I don't think Louisville, the safety didn't want to tackle. I don't know what they were doing on that play. They thought there was tag, and for some reason they're looking for his flag to pull, and so. But even going back, like why the coaching? Why even? What do you? I don't know. Yeah. The risk reward is just it doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. And what are you down? Were you up 10 in the 4th?
Yep.
And you blow the game, like at home, to a team. I think at this point you were outplaying.
Yeah. No question.
In a lot of ways. I think it just blew the game. I not taking anything away from Florida State. They did what they needed to do to win, and kudos to them. But I personally think Louisville. You said, "Here's the game we don't want to win."
Yes, and I'm not saying that this is going to be. Oh, this is the play where Florida State season turnaround. I'm not saying that, but I am saying it could be something more than just an interception. You know what I mean? You could take this and roll that into, hey, we can beat Wake Forest. We can upset a team or two, get to bowl eligibility. We've seen what it's like to win on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, sometimes you don't need to beat the other team. You just wait for them to beat themselves. And that's sometimes you need to play that game.
yeah.
Really, you do. So, I mean, you could take it as we know that we can win this way too. And we know that the game's not over till the clock hits 0.
Absolutely.
You can take that going forward.
So, real quickly, I had 2 thoughts on Brandon's tutorial on how to finish a game and win.
Okay, all right.
So,
Yeah,
do you want to get a notepad? Okay, I'll give you a second.
Yeah. Right, and we're good.
Good. All right, perfect. So, Stanford played Oregon, and Oregon has a 3-point lead, has a first down with under 2 minutes to go. All they have to do is take 3 knees and the game is over. But they decide to run.
Yep.
And they fumble the ball on 3rd down, stretching for what would have been the unnecessary first down. Stanford drives down with no time left, kicks field goal, forces overtime, and wins an OT. Just take a knee there. Louisville could have something very similar. The most famous one to me of, okay, we somehow blew this game. Go and look it up. And actually, I'll throw this in the show notes. In 2014, East Carolina is hosting UCF. Knight fans will remember this one very well. ESPN commentator said of this game, East Carolina was the first team to take the victory formation and lose. Watch the very end of this game. East Carolina has the ball. They're about on the UCF 40, so they're trying to run out the clock. But there's not quite enough time to justify 3 knees in a row, so you probably should have tried to hand off to a running back, something like that.
Right.
But they take not 3 kneel downs, but 4. Right? Well, what happens after a 4th down where you don't convert? The clock stops for change of possession. UCF has enough time to throw a 50-yard Hail Mary to Rashad Perryman, which he catches with no time left to win on the road at East Carolina. The irony of this is East Carolina would have won the conference had they won this game and had brought out the trophy to their sideline before that play was run.
Oh, no.
So they're stunned, and there actually ended up being a share of the they didn't have a title game back then, a share of the ACC title, I think a 3-way, and UCF was ended up being conference champion because of how bad they managed the end of the game.
Wow. I don't remember. I vaguely remember UCF winning on a Hail Mary, but I don't remember the events leading up to it.
So the receiver, I think he played for the Ravens for all, Rashad Perryman, is now called the Hail Perryman.
Yeah. I think I remember the play, but I don't remember the scenario, and I definitely didn't know about the trophy. That's bad. Absolutely. Well, in the Florida game, at the end of the half, Mississippi State, I guess, was taking a knee just to go into the half, and it was like a 3rd down, and they took a knee, but we called timeout with, I don't know, a handful of seconds left, 5 maybe. And, the commentators are like, maybe Florida wants to go after the punt, just see what happens,
Right.
Mississippi State, they lined up, I think it was shotgun, and the quarterback just takes the ball and just throws it up in the air.
Yeah.
And I was smart. I was just like, okay, you want to call a timeout? We'll do this.
Yep.
And I mean, there are ways if you just think about it.
Sure.
And I was just like, you could tell that the coach and the players, they had thought about this before. In this situation, this is what we're going to do.
Right. And for Louisville, I'm almost certain that's not the play Petrino called because he was pretty upset, obviously, as he would be. I think there must have been some kind of miscommunication for Florida State to have had any chance at that. So do the unpopular thing and take some knees.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, put the pressure on Florida State, not on you.
Yep. There you go. Unbelievable. So good win for the Noles. Gators are victorious. We got some other teams in Florida that played some games.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I'll go with South Florida first, then I'll defer to you. And South Florida's off this week, so nothing to report there. They get UMass this week off of their bye. And we just assume that South Florida's going to be favored in every game the rest of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
Until Central Florida rolls into Tampa. And I don't know that South Florida is going to be one of those teams that's going to blow anyone out. They're going to be the Cardiac Bulls this year, if you will.
Yes.
That's going to be their identity. That's fine as long as you win.
Yeah,
It doesn't sit well with the fan base, but every team has that year.
Yeah, yeah. And then they played to their competition.
You could say
It's gonna
that.
make for a lot of interesting games.
And a lot of close ones, too. Probably against teams you shouldn't be close with, but...
Right. Let's see. So let's talk about Miami for a minute here.
Oh, God.
They had a Thursday night game against North Carolina and just blew them out. North Carolina scored 10 in the first, and that was it. North Carolina scored 10 points. Miami's defense scored 3 touchdowns.
Did those 10 points have anything to do with the fact they turned the ball over 6 times, maybe?
Yeah, good chance. Man, it was a little crazy game. N'Kosi Perry, the Rams quarterback, he did an all right job, 125 and a touchdown. But you didn't really need to do much,
Right.
honestly. Like, they were smart. Like, our defense is rolling. Let's just be conservative, and they were okay. And you look at the 47-10. But if you've watched the game, it was the deal. I don't know what North Carolina was doing, but there was a one touchdown. The quarterback is about to get sacked, and he's just like, I'm just going to throw it, see what happens. Except there was like 2 defenders waiting for the pass. So Miami's defense is rolling, but North Carolina's 1-3 now. So not taking too much stock into it, but it's still impressive to get 3 scores from your defense.
It is.
I will say that.
And we've talked how bad the ACC Coastal is, and so UNC made Miami look like national champions that day.
Yeah.
And you're right. Don't put too much into it because UNC is one of the worst. Did you see, by the way, how Fedora greeted Rick at the end of the game?
I missed that.
Oh, not pleasant. He barely shook his hand. Rick, you usually have like a 1 or 2 sentence exchange.
Yeah.
Larry Fedora had already turned his back to him, and as he's walking away, says no thanks, and just that to me right there is just a sign he's not coming back next year. It's gotten too toxic at UNC. They're terrible. They got embarrassed. Actually, they play Miami pretty close most years, and then this one you could not have looked worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. They won the possession battle, time of possession.
Yep.
But,
well, I said they couldn't look worse. That's not true. You're right. They actually did move the ball quite a bit. Yeah. But you just turn the ball over on downs and fumbles and interceptions.
It was a strange game because they made some strides and would have a good play here and there, and then said, "Oh, time for Miami's defense to score." Just when they had something going, the quarterback would make a run or something. Touchdown Miami. It was strange. Very strange.
Yes, indeed. A team that didn't struggle and had all kinds of success was UCF.
Yeah.
Very easy win against Pittsburgh. And, you could have said going into this game there is some upset potential. And let me just get this straight. It is not because Pitt was talented. That's clear. They had lost to UNC the week before. There you go. So the reason Pitt could have been dangerous is because 3 times in the last 10 years they've beaten a top 3 team.
Right.
They beat West Virginia in 2007. All West Virginia had to do was beat Pitt, and they go to the national championship game. Remember Rich Rod when he's the coach there?
Yeah. I remember.
The year Clemson wins national championship, which was 16.
Yeah.
That was their only loss was to Pitt, and then last year Pittsburgh handed Miami their first loss. Thanksgiving weekend. Okay. So that's 3 top 3 wins right there in the last decade. That is why. And now all of those years, their records 5-7, 5-7, 8-4. They weren't good. They just have that potential to beat a team and be annoying. So that was really the only thing UCF had to worry about. It certainly wasn't on the field, and they clearly handled business. The only time they scored until the very end of the game was on a punt return. They got nothing done on offense. They couldn't move the ball. UCF, because they score so many points and so quickly, it pressures opposing offenses to throw the ball a lot, and they force balls and passes in that just shouldn't be thrown. Right. They take too many chances, and so I came in. I said, Pittsburgh's only hope here is to run the ball a lot, and they did a decent job of that. And they got some passes here and there, maybe to a tight end, wide receiver to keep a drive going and get some yards, but they can never cash it in. So until the very end, they finally scored. But very easy win for the Knights.
Yeah, so their road looks pretty good till the end of the season.
Absolutely, they're gonna be favored in every game. It gets very easy from here until probably South Florida. Heck, I really thought Memphis would be the team to upset them, but Memphis goes and lays an egg against Tulane. So I don't know what to think of the Tigers anymore, and unfortunately, they were my AAC conference champion pick, and they're looking pretty desolate. They've already lost 2 conference games. They also lost to Navy.
Ooh. Yeah. Now, so do you think if UCF wins out, they're in the playoffs going off of what happened last year?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. Did you read my mind? Did you know that's what I was gonna go to next?
No, but I am outside your window.
Yeah.
So you could move to the left so I can see you better.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's a topic that's going to be discussed now until the end of the year. So here's what I'll say on that. UCF has the respect that they probably didn't have last season. Mm-hmm. Did you know, Chris, UCF started the season ranked? Yes. That is the first time that ever happened.
Oh. I did not know that.
Yeah, first time ever. So you started the year ranked. Last year you didn't. You're up to around the 12 or 13 in the AP and coaches poll at this point, where you're 4-0. By this time last year, they were ranked 25. Okay. By the time Week 10 rolled around last season, when the College Football Playoff Committee released their first rankings, they were ranked 18. By the time the season ended and they'd beaten Auburn in the Peach Bowl, they finished 6. So they climbed 12 spots in the last month. Now, 18-6, not terribly hard to climb there from the teens up. 6 was, once you get in the top 10, then it becomes a lot harder to move up and down.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider strength of schedule. Last year, UCF strength of schedule, 91 out of 130. You want to guess what it is this year? According to most experts, lower. It's actually a little better.
Okay.
They're up to 80 now, so there you go.
Okay,
80. Well. So about 10 spots higher, slightly tougher road to get to an undefeated season. By comparison, by the way, South Florida is one of the easiest schedules in the country.
Oh, I know that.
Florida State's one of the hardest. Top 5, you could argue one of the toughest.
Okay.
Really, really interesting how this season kind of played out with the SEC having some parity. Florida State being in the Atlantic made the schedule really tough, but adding Notre Dame is what just sent it over the top hard.
Right.
So, does UCF go undefeated and miss out on the playoff? I'm going to say more likely than not. However, they're already getting the respect that they didn't get last season. So that's a positive. There was also somebody, and I can't remember the source, I think it was ESPN, said that the committee has already come out and said, we're considering UCF, and we actually ranked them higher than the other polls did last year. So there you have it.
Yeah.
You're going to need a lot of chaos in front of you, and you're going to need some teams to beat up on each other. That's your only hope.
Yeah. I think that if they do, unless there's just 4 just complete dominant, maybe in 5, I think if there's a questionable 4th spot, I think UCF gets it.
Do you?
And their reward is probably going to be Alabama.
Absolutely.
So we'll get to see the national championship game we deserved last year.
There you go. And
although I think last year's UCF team is better.
you had some better pieces. If I'm UCF right now, the defense is what I'm worried about.
Right.
The rush defense is one of the worst in the country, and you got to get that corrected. And you don't want to turn into a Big 12 team. And if your defense doesn't improve, that's exactly what's going to happen. So I'm of the opinion they'll miss out. I think most people are probably split on if they're going to be able to get up to that 4 spot or not. And it's tough to say. We just don't know how the SEC teams like LSU, Auburn finish.
Right.
And does Clemson get a loss? Does that affect things? The Big Ten champ, where do they fall? We're going to be asking this question of each other almost hourly.
Yeah.
Up and all the way through November. So it'll be interesting for sure. Now, what also helps is they have a conference championship game. What may not help is the team they play may not be ranked.
Right.
But the other benefit is it would be at home.
Yeah. They would need USF to do real well and then beat them at the end of the year.
You got it. That's going to be their quality win.
Yeah.
And too bad South Florida's not on the other side of the conference, because then you get it a little later. It's fresher on the mind. So wouldn't that be great if that's undefeated?
Yeah.
What would really the loser of that game though is just toast with the bowl selection, because no one's going to want to take them.
Yeah.
Because I even told UCF fans going into that South Florida game last year, I said, if you lose this, your first 10 wins meant nothing.
Right.
You would have gone to the Las Vegas Bowl.
Yep.
I mean, that's South Florida, wherever they ended up. I'm not sure, but
yep. Yeah. Crazy. Interesting. It's going to be real interesting to see.
Yep.
All right. A couple more games. FAU lost on the road to Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, what happened there?
Now, they start off the game on fire. They're even up 21-3 at one point. But right before the half, about a minute or so left, Middle Tennessee scores, make it 21-10. And then, so it's a whatever game till the very end of the game. Middle Tennessee goes and scores a touchdown with, 30 seconds left or something. And they would kick the extra point to tie, except they decide to go for 2. And on a crazy play where instead of sprint right option, sprint left option, the quarterback throws, can't find anybody, gets pressure, just chucks it, chucks a prayer into the end zone, and the guy catches it.
Oh my gosh.
And Middle Tennessee wins. And because if you're Florida Atlantic, that's just got to be a heartbreaker. Singletary scores 2 first quarter touchdowns. You think this is going to be an easy win.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to come back and win on just a luck 2-point conversion. I mean, you should be going into overtime. And they decide to go for 2. And then you call a great play on defense. And you pressure the quarterback. You cover all the receivers, and he just throws it up, and the guy just out jumps his man.
I hate those.
Yeah. Did not see that. So now they are 2-3. FAU is 2-3.
Yeah. At this point, did not see that coming.
I don't think they're obviously not. They're not in the discussion for playoffs. But I didn't think they'd be 2-3 at this point.
No.
Did not see it coming at all.
Now they did challenge themselves. So 1 loss to UCF, 1 loss to Oklahoma.
True.
You probably chalk those up as whatever. So you're scheduling harder teams. Well, these are scheduled so far out. Who knows if that was Oklahoma's always good, but UCF, you didn't know this when it was scheduled, I'm sure. Right. I didn't know, especially when they got into conference play. I expected Florida Atlantic to really turn it up, and you're right. That's what it looked like early on. And wow.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And then FIU just thumped Arkansas Pine Bluff 55-9. Don't know much more to say than that.
The curse of the curse of the hyphen. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good for them. Let's just say that. We'll just keep it at that.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was a pretty interesting week for sure. You got a couple of surprise wins. Miami takes care of business. What do we have coming next week? What are your thoughts on Florida playing LSU?
Man, the line has been like 2-3 points all week, and a lot of people are high on the Gators. but I just don't know. I don't know what LSU team we're gonna get. I can't fully figure us out right now. I do like that we're playing at home. We're calling for a blue out. They want the fans to wear blue. 3:30 CBS game. It's gonna be a fun one. I think it's a coin toss. I don't know. I really don't know. LSU is rolling. I figured at this point they were gonna lose one of those games, especially to Auburn. Looks like they were dead in the water, and they came back and won. They've been playing pretty decent since then. Not really sold on their quarterback, but I like their defense and I like their running game. And I think they're a little high at number 5, but I think they're a really good team. And I just don't know. I'm going back and forth on how I feel about this. I'm excited, and we definitely want some revenge from last year where we thought, we were looking good and they were a wounded duck after losing to Troy, but they come in and just run the ball all over us. And so we definitely want some revenge. I just don't think we're there yet. We beat Mississippi State, and I'm like, okay, we can beat LSU. We got this. And then I take a few days. I step back. I'm like, okay, we're really that good? Was Mississippi State? I think they're a little overrated. LSU is playing pretty decent. I saw their game Saturday night. They handled their business. I don't know. I don't know if I could pull the trigger on the Gators just yet on this one, though. I think it's going to be close. I don't think LSU runs away with it. But I think 6 points, LSU.
Take it by
at this point.
Touchdown. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been opening my stance from our preview episode all the way through this season. I love what you said, that you never know what LSU team you're going to get, and I'm taking the Gators to win. I understand your reservations. I know there are certainly ways that LSU can put this away, and you would probably think it would be continuing to hold the Gators' offense back. But I don't trust LSU. I don't trust Ed Orgeron. Quarterback for LSU, Burrow, is completing less than 50% of his passes. He's a game manager. I haven't seen enough flash from LSU. And they're not a great, fun team to watch. Some SEC teams like that aren't. That's just their style. But I'm taking the Gators at home. I am.
Wow. Well, I don't think it's crazy to think Florida could win this game. And it's weird. They're 5 and we're 22 in most polls around there. And they're only favored by 2 or 3 points.
Right.
Which is interesting to me. And I see why people, there are ways that we can win. And the style we played last week was the style LSU plays, and we can win that grind out game. We know we can. Their defense is really good, really, really good, and I like their running backs a lot. And they got pretty decent receivers too. If we win the turnover battle, and if our special team keeps playing solid, we're going to have a chance. I think we're going to have a chance. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I just don't know yet. I try not to let my emotions pick the game.
I get it. But, and hey, 2 really good kickers in this game. You see a good matchup. Always good to have that in your pocket.
Right.
But it'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Coach O, I'm not really sold on him. But it's going to be a fun one, though. It really is. I think it's going to come down till the end. I think whoever has the ball last, like one of those situations.
Okay. All right.
I think it's still going to be like a 17-13 game, though.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if it's in the 30s. I really would.
First 24 wins. Kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it should be a fun one, too. And that same time slot at 3:30 p.m., Florida State travels to Miami.
That's what we call a 2 TV situation.
Yes.
It's going to have both on at the same time, for sure.
Absolutely. So I don't think there's any mystery on what's going to happen here. I'd love to throw in some Miami jokes. I'm very open that they're the rival I dislike the most. I cringe when I see their colors. I don't like their flag. I don't like their fans, et cetera, so on. But
okay, Brandon, don't hold back. How do you feel about it? We're an honest podcast here. Be honest.
It's hard to watch this game and see them have any kind of success. But this year, Miami wins by 17. Okay. Whatever the spread is, Miami's going to cover it. N'Kosi Perry's given them a new spark. The only way that Florida State keeps this close or gets any shot is getting pressure on him. A guy who's not used to the rivalry. And believe me when I say the reports from how practice has gone this week for Florida State and getting guys back healthy on the offensive line, like Derek Kelly, practicing in full pads again for the O-line. Things are different. The atmosphere has changed. You come out from Louisville with a close victory. You get some momentum. Things are going to change, but let's not pick with the emotions here. Miami's a much better team. They're the best state. They're the best team in the state. I've been true about that since the beginning of the year also. And they're going to get it done. I don't know about 6 turnovers, but you're going to continue to see a pattern of false starts, struggling offensive play, not being able to run the ball. And there's no way you get it done against their defense. It's just not going to happen. So
yeah, I think it's closer than 17. I think like 10. I would say like a 27-17 ball game. But FSU's defense doesn't scare me enough, and Miami's defense does.
Right.
So I don't think Miami runs away with it, but
I do.
I mean, you score, you force 3 turnovers by half, and I could see it getting out of hand. I really could, but in a rivalry game, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State makes it interesting for like 3 quarters.
Right, and that's the biggest thing to our advantage. Tiger is a Florida State fan for life, so he knows the importance of this game, and
right.
We'll probably see some trick plays or some here and there. We saw a couple against Louisville, like we tried to run a double reverse pass back with
right.
Naquan, and Francois was hanging in the backfield, and he didn't have, Naquan had to just basically take a loss because the pitch back wasn't there. But you might see that here again this week. Let's pray for our kicker. That's always a concern for this game, and this year he started off really rough. You're going to have to take points where you can get them. So just the biggest thing that's hurt Florida State this year is just field position. We just, we're bad on third down, and then you start way back. I mean, it was like, remember that LSU Alabama National Championship game where LSU didn't cross midfield until the very end? It's almost like that with Florida State right now. You're like, okay, come on, yeah, you can. Hey, we have a play in opponent territory. That's great, because it's happening so rarely.
Right.
We looked surprisingly better against Louisville, but consider that Louisville hasn't won a meaningful game yet or a conference game. So, let's manage expectations for the Florida State fans this week.
I think one of the what Florida State's strength is hitting that deep pass. I don't know if Miami's going to allow them to.
Yeah, good point.
Enough times. So it'll be interesting because of the rivalry, but I just don't. I mean, last year's game shouldn't have been that close, but it was. So
they squeaked out the win.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? We
had won 7 years in a row before that.
Right.
Otherwise, actually, if we had pulled that off, we would have been tied all time 31-31 for the schools. We've played 62 times. So instead, they have a 2-game advantage, and we'll make it 3.
Man, what do you think the score? What's your score?
34-17.
Okay.
I mean, we could allow less points and make it closer, but last week getting 28 was just almost miraculous. Where I'm like, wow, where did that come from?
Right.
Now, obviously, I say all this, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we come out and we pressure Perry, and we force some turnovers ourselves, and we figure out some offensive rushing schemes that work, and we control the clock and field position. but nothing to this point, unfortunately, has told me that that's going to happen this Saturday.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Might be a long night, long day for y'all.
Yep.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. You're right. Let's hope that it turns around and you take the Florida State pride with you into this game and you fight. And that's what we're going to need to do.
Yeah. All right. Last few games coming up. FAU host Old Dominion at a 5:00 game, which is weird timing. Strange. I don't. Old Dominion's 1-4. I don't really. It's nice. I think it's gonna be a nice, easy bounce back game for FAU. Get back on the right track. I don't see any issues there.
I agree. You shouldn't have any trouble there unless they pull a Virginia Tech type of game, which I don't see.
Yeah. The cat's out of the bag with ODU.
Yep.
No more surprises for them.
Nope, not gonna happen. All right. I mentioned South Florida has UMass. That won't even be close. And then Central Florida hosts SMU. And just like every other conference game until the Bulls, they're going to be favored by probably around 24 points.
Yeah.
And honestly, they're going to have to keep up winning games like that. And I watched SMU play TCU, and I kind of saw their new coaching staff. And there's too much rebuilding things going on with SMU, so I'd say the Knights win pretty comfortably.
And last but not least, well, maybe least, I don't know. FIU has a home game against BYE. Should be a pretty boring game.
Can you repeat those letters again?
BYE.
What is that?
They have a bye this week.
Hey,
that's my dad joke for tonight.
Oh, man.
You all drive safe. I'll be here all week.
And I totally fell for that. I did not even catch that.
Hook, line, and sinker, my friend.
Oh, man. I was like, Brigham Young Existential? Is there like a branch of the other?
Brigham Young East?
Yeah.
Just the east side of the campus is coming over. Playing them. Oh, they get the week off. Yeah. Before the Middle Tennessee week after that.
Okay. The Blue Raiders. Oh, Chris got me. Well, I'm going to recover from that with a couple of facts.
Yeah.
This is a quiz for you. What year do you think South Florida started playing football?
I'm going to say, it's going to sound dumb, 1963.
1997.
Wow. Really?
Yes, sir.
I did not see that coming.
Yep. I'm going to throw another one at you. When did Florida International start playing football?
Oh, it was like 2000s, right?
That's correct. 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that was real recent.
Yep. So it's kind of cool that we'll just call ourselves pioneers. We're one of the first shows to cover some of the brand new football programs in the state compared to how they measure up against the quote Big Three, if you will.
Yeah.
That's what we offer. You know, that's what we do day in and day out.
Well, that's a nice little pat I'm giving myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, you're welcome, Florida. The state of Florida.
The state of Florida. This is our gift to you.
You're welcome.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any last thoughts before we kind of sign off for the fans?
No, we're excited, pumped, nervous, but it's a big week. This year overall really hasn't had any big anticipation games.
Mm-hmm.
A couple blips here and there, but this one, it's really feeling like football. You're starting to figure out your teams. You're getting some wins, and now this is like the real test,
right,
for both of us. This is it.
It's interesting to see how the programs in the state, the perception has changed just within 2 weeks. So, after the first 3 weeks, you had Kentucky beating Florida. You have Florida State starting rough out the gate, losing to Syracuse. You had Miami going down to LSU. And all of a sudden, it was except for UCF, because continued to win. They've been the only mainstay. You look at that, and you're like, what's going on in Florida? And all of a sudden, Miami resurges. Florida wins 2 SEC road games, mainly the Mississippi State win.
Yeah.
Florida State wins 2 in a row. Not going to hear that again. And the whole state completely changes in 14 days. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. But it's kind of cool to also cover college football in a state where the nation has such a close eye on it. Every single program, it's you tailor every other state's success to it, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting. A lot of coaching changes within the state this year, and it's interesting. I know every team is different, and the schedules and the hands are dealt with the players is different with a new coach and a new staff. But I was very, very open about how I felt about Dan Mullen coming here. I thought he was going to be a good guy, but not the guy I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I said I want to say that I was wrong about him. I'm almost at that point.
Okay.
Because the two guys that I wanted before him have a combined 0 wins with their teams, respectively.
Chip Kelly and Scott Frost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand different programs. I totally get that. That's why I'm not saying I was wrong yet. Mm-hmm. But I will say I was. I'll go that far.
Fair enough.
And so I'm pretty happy right now with Mullen. Pretty happy.
Yep. Well said. Good thought.
Looking forward to see what he has for LSU this week.
Absolutely. Biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
Both schools, really.
At this point, yeah. So.
All right.
Cool.
Well, Chris, we had a lot of thoughts today. We shared ups and downs, highs and lows. Friends became enemies, etc. How can the fans get in touch with us? They have some thoughts too, and they want to reach out. How can they do that?
Please hit us up on our website at FloridaFocusPodcast.libsyn.com. Libsyn, Libsyn. A lot of activity on Facebook, also YouTube at Florida Focus Podcast, Twitter at Florida Focus Pod. Feel free to drop us an email at FloridaFocusPodcast@yahoo.com. We have a Snapchat and Instagram accounts, FL Focus Pod, and of course our Patreon account.
Excellent. Well, thank you to the fans for listening. We hope that this weekend is fun, and that this show can kind of give you some information looking forward and how to recap it. 5 stars on iTunes. We appreciate the feedback and the reviews. Always look to hear from our fans. Anything else before we go for the day, Chris?
No, I'm getting pumped. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. This is Brandon. I'll say go Noles.
Go Gators.